Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads in life, faced with a decision that feels both terrifying and exhilarating? That moment when you realize the path you've been walking no longer feeds your soul, yet the unfamiliar road ahead seems shrouded in uncertainty. In the depths of night, when the world grows quiet and the masks we wear fall away, we often encounter our truest selves. That version of us that whispers questions we spend our daylight hours avoiding. Is this really the life I want to create? Am I living according to my own inner compass, or am I simply following a map drawn by others? We live in an age of unprecedented distraction and expectation. Our digital devices ping with constant demands for attention. Our social circles subtly pressure us toward conformity. Our workplaces reward those who sacrifice personal well-being on the altar of productivity. And in this carefully orchestrated symphony of external voices, our own internal wisdom gets drowned out, reduced to a barely audible whisper we can scarcely hear anymore. The ancient Greeks had a concept they called eudaimonia, not merely happiness, but a state of flourishing, of living in accordance with one's authentic nature. They understood something profound that we've largely forgotten in our modern rush toward success and acceptance. They knew that a life misaligned with one's inner truth is no life at all, merely an elaborate performance that leaves us feeling hollow no matter how much applause we receive. Consider for a moment, what parts of your life feel like a performance rather than an expression? Where are you reciting lines written by others instead of speaking your own truth? The roles we play, the dutiful employee, the perfect parent, the supportive friend, the successful professional, all have value. But when these roles consume us entirely, something essential begins to wither within. The most painful tragedy isn't failing to achieve our goals. It's succeeding at goals that were never truly our own. How many of us have reached milestones only to feel a strange emptiness where celebration should be? How many have acquired possessions, titles, or relationships that were supposed to bring fulfillment, only to discover they were pursuing someone else's definition of success? This disconnect creates what philosophers have called existential debt, the accumulating cost of betraying your authentic self in favor of external validation. And unlike financial debt, which appears on statements and demands attention, existential debt operates silently, manifesting as a gradual draining of vitality, purpose, and joy. What would it mean to begin repaying this debt? To start reclaiming the life that aligns with your deepest values and truest desires? First, we must understand that authenticity isn't selfishness. There's a profound difference between self-centeredness and self-alignment. One treats others as means to personal ends. The other recognizes that you can only truly serve the world when operating from your center of genuine purpose. Think of the oxygen mask principle we hear on every flight. Secure your own mask before helping others. This isn't selfish. It's necessary. When you're gasping for air, you cannot effectively assist anyone else. Similarly, when you're disconnected from your authentic self, the energy and presence you bring to your relationships, work, and community are diminished versions of what they could be. Living authentically requires courage, perhaps more courage than any external challenge demands. It means facing the voice of inner criticism that has absorbed society's judgments. It means disappointing people who have grown comfortable with the version of you that accommodates their expectations. It means stepping into uncertainty when the familiar, however unfulfilling, feels safer. But here's what few people tell you about this journey. The discomfort of living authentically is far less painful than the soul-level exhaustion of perpetual self-betrayal. The energy required to maintain a facade is immense. Imagine redirecting that energy toward creating a life that genuinely reflects your values, passions, and purpose. The philosopher Martin Heidegger spoke of thrownness, the idea that we're cast into existence within particular circumstances, not of our choosing. We don't select our time in history, our early environment, or the cultural narratives that shape our initial understanding of the world. But while we cannot choose our starting point, we possess the remarkable capacity to choose our response to it. This response begins with awareness. Notice where in your body you feel tension when making certain choices. Pay attention to when your words align with your truth and when they diverge from it. Observe which people and activities energize you and which leave you depleted. These subtle signals are your internal guidance system trying to communicate with you. Many of us have been conditioned to ignore these signals, to push through discomfort in service of external goals. We pride ourselves on resilience, on our ability to endure situations that quietly damage our spirits. But true resilience isn't about endurance alone. It's about adaptability, about having the wisdom to recognize when persistence serves your growth and when it merely reinforces patterns that no longer serve you. The journey toward authenticity often begins with small acts of honesty. You don't need to radically transform your entire life overnight. Start by creating moments of alignment, perhaps in how you spend your morning hours, in a hobby that connects you to joy, or in more transparent conversations with those closest to you. These islands of authenticity gradually expand, creating an archipelago of truth in what might otherwise feel like an ocean of compromise. One of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself is, if no one would judge me for it, what would I change about my life? This simple inquiry bypasses your social conditioning and opens a window to your deeper desires. The answers might surprise you. They're often simpler and more fundamental than we expect. Perhaps you'd speak more directly, pursue a creative passion without concern for mastery, restructure your schedule to allow for more solitude, or express affection more openly. As you begin honoring these authentic impulses, you'll likely encounter resistance, both internal and external. Internally, the voice of fear will enumerate all the potential consequences of change. Externally, those accustomed to your familiar patterns may express confusion or disapproval. This resistance isn't evidence you're moving in the wrong direction. Quite often, it's confirmation you're disrupting patterns that need disruption. Remember that authenticity isn't selfishness. When you align with your true nature, you don't become less compassionate or responsible, quite the opposite. You bring a more genuine presence to your interactions. You make decisions from clarity rather than obligation. You contribute from a place of purpose rather than resentment. The people who truly care for you will ultimately prefer your authentic presence to your perfect performance, even if the transition momentarily unsettles them. Consider the concept of soul resonance, the state where your outer expressions and circumstances vibrate at the same frequency as your inner truth. In this alignment, life doesn't become effortless, but it does acquire a sense of rightness, of moving with the current rather than constantly swimming against it. Opportunities appear that align with your genuine gifts. Relationships deepen through honest exchange. Work, even when challenging, connects to meaning rather than merely consuming energy. This resonance creates a particular quality of energy that others can sense, even if they can't articulate it. We've all encountered people who possess this quality, an undefinable authenticity that draws us to them. Not because they're perfect or have everything figured out, but because they're fully present, fully themselves. They speak their truth without apology, yet without aggression. They listen with genuine curiosity rather than strategic calculation. They pursue what matters to them with conviction while respecting others' different paths. Becoming such a person isn't about achieving some idealized state of enlightenment. It's about an ongoing practice of self-honesty and courageous choice-making. It's about noticing when you've drifted from your center and gently guiding yourself back, without harsh self-judgment for the deviation. It's about understanding that authenticity isn't a destination, but a moment-by-moment commitment. Many wisdom traditions speak of the essential self and the constructed self. The essential self is who you are beneath the accumulated layers of social conditioning, protective adaptations, and identity performances. It's the part of you that remains constant despite changing circumstances, roles, and relationships. The constructed self, by contrast, is the collection of strategies and personas you've developed to navigate the external world. Both aspects serve important functions. The problem arises when we mistake the constructed self for the essential self, when we become so identified with our adaptations that we lose touch with what's most fundamental in us. This misidentification is the root of what some philosophers call existential anxiety, a persistent sense that something vital is missing or at risk, even when external circumstances seem favorable. Reconnecting with your essential self requires creating space between your awareness and your conditioned patterns. Practices like mindfulness meditation, journaling, time in nature, and deep conversations with trusted others can help create this space. So can experiences that bring you into flow states, those moments of complete absorption where your sense of separate self temporarily dissolves into what you're doing, whether that's creating art, solving complex problems, or being fully present with another person. As you strengthen this connection, you'll become more discerning about which external influences deserve your attention and energy. Not all social expectations are limiting. Some represent collective wisdom about what enables human flourishing. The key is developing the inner authority to distinguish between expectations that support your growth and those that constrain your authentic expression. Many people fear that prioritizing authenticity will lead to selfishness or irresponsibility, but true authenticity encompasses your fundamental connection to others and your place within the larger web of life. When acting from your essential self, you naturally consider the impact of your choices on those around you, not from obligation, but from a recognition of our interdependence. In fact, one of the clearest signs of alignment with your authentic self is an expanded capacity for genuine compassion. When no longer depleted by the effort of maintaining appearances or meeting arbitrary expectations, you have more energy available for meaningful engagement with others. You listen more attentively. You respond from presence rather than reactivity. You offer help that truly serves rather than merely demonstrates your virtue. The philosopher Charles Taylor wrote about strong evaluation, the distinctly human capacity to reflect not just on what we want, but on the quality and worth of our desires themselves. This capacity allows us to distinguish between fleeting impulses and deeper values, between conditioned reactions and authentic responses. Cultivating this discernment is essential to living with integrity in a world full of competing influences and demands. Consider the metaphor of a tree. A healthy tree has both deep roots and flexible branches. Its roots anchor it firmly, drawing nourishment from the soil and providing stability during storms. Its branches adapt to changing conditions, reaching toward available light, swaying with strong winds rather than breaking against them. Living authentically requires developing both aspects, the rootedness in your core values and the flexibility to express them appropriately across different contexts and relationships. One of the most common obstacles to authentic living is the fear of judgment. We imagine that others are constantly evaluating us, finding us wanting, or ready to reject us if we step outside accepted norms. But research in social psychology reveals what's called the spotlight effect, our tendency to dramatically overestimate how much attention others are paying to our actions and choices. The truth is, most people are far more concerned with their own lives than they are with closely monitoring yours. Moreover, those who would harshly judge your authentic choices are often those most uncomfortable with examining their own lives. Their judgment frequently says more about their unacknowledged fears than about your worth or wisdom. Understanding this can help liberate you from the prison of others' opinions. Another obstacle is what psychologists call forecasting errors, our tendency to inaccurately predict how future events will affect our emotional state. We often overestimate the negative impact of potential changes while underestimating our capacity to adapt and find new sources of meaning and satisfaction. This leads to a status quo bias, where we remain in unfulfilling situations because we fear the unknown alternatives more than the familiar discomfort. To counter these tendencies, try conducting small experiments in authenticity, limited changes that allow you to test assumptions about consequences without overwhelming your system with too much change at once. Perhaps you express an unpopular opinion in a low-risk setting, decline an invitation that would drain your energy, or allocate time to a neglected interest. Each experiment provides data about what truly serves your well-being and purpose. As you move toward greater authenticity, you'll likely experience what some call growing pains, the discomfort that accompanies any significant transformation. Old relationships may need renegotiation. Long-standing patterns will resist disruption. Parts of your identity may need to die so that newer, truer expressions can emerge. This process resembles what mythologist Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey, the archetypal path of departure from the familiar, confrontation with challenges, and return with expanded awareness. Throughout this journey, remember that authenticity isn't about perfection. It's about wholeness, embracing all aspects of yourself, including your contradictions, uncertainties, and ongoing evolution. It's about bringing conscious choice to areas of life that have operated on autopilot. It's about aligning your outer expression with your inner truth, not in one dramatic gesture, but in thousands of small choices made day after day. The rewards of this commitment are profound. Research in positive psychology consistently shows that people who report a sense of authenticity also experience greater well-being, more satisfying relationships, and a stronger sense of meaning and purpose. Beyond these measurable benefits lies something more ineffable, the quiet joy of recognition when you catch glimpses of your true nature expressing itself through your choices and creations. Imagine waking up each morning with a sense that your day's activities fundamentally align with who you are and what matters most to you. Imagine relationships where you feel known and accepted for who you truly are, rather than for the roles you play. Imagine contributing to the world in ways that express your unique gifts rather than merely filling predefined functions. This isn't a utopian fantasy. It's the natural result of the courageous decision to live authentically. The psychiatrist Carl Jung observed that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This privilege isn't granted automatically. It must be claimed through conscious intention and consistent action. It requires the courage to question inherited assumptions, the wisdom to discern your own truth amidst competing voices, and the persistence to align your life with that truth step by step. You might be wondering, where do I begin? Start with curiosity rather than judgment. Approach yourself as you would an old friend you're getting to know after years of separation. What brings you alive? What drains your energy? What values do you hold, not because you were taught them, but because you've tested them and found them true? What dreams have you set aside that still whisper to you in quiet moments? Pay attention to moments of resonance, those experiences when something inside you responds with recognition, as if saying, yes, this. These moments might come while reading certain words, hearing particular music, engaging in specific activities, or connecting with certain people. They're signposts pointing toward your authentic path. Equally important is noticing moments of dissonance, when something feels off, even if you can't immediately articulate why. This discomfort isn't something to suppress or ignore. It's valuable information about misalignment between your actions and your values, between your environment and your needs, or between your relationships and your boundaries. As you gather this information, patterns will emerge. You'll begin to recognize the difference between choices that bring temporary comfort but long-term disconnection, and those that might involve short-term discomfort but lead to deeper fulfillment. You'll start distinguishing between fear that protects you from genuine harm and fear that merely preserves the familiar. This growing self-knowledge becomes the foundation for authentic decision-making. Each choice becomes an opportunity to move toward greater alignment, or away from it. Even small decisions matter in this context. How you spend your morning, what conversations you engage in, which projects you prioritize. These daily choices shape not just your external circumstances, but your internal landscape. The beauty of this approach is that it's available regardless of your specific situation. You don't need to dramatically upend your life to begin living more authentically. You can start exactly where you are, bringing greater awareness and intentionality to the choices already before you. The question isn't whether you can transform your entire existence overnight, but whether you're willing to take the next step toward greater authenticity today. This path isn't easy. But neither is the alternative. Living disconnected from your authentic self requires constantly monitoring your words and actions to ensure they meet external expectations. It means suppressing parts of yourself that don't fit the image you're trying to maintain. It means making decisions based on what will gain approval, rather than what truly resonates. This constant self-management consumes enormous energy that could be directed toward creating a life of meaning and purpose. Consider what might be possible if you redirected that energy. What gifts might you discover and develop? What relationships might deepen through greater honesty? What contributions might you make when operating from your center rather than your periphery? The answers to these questions aren't theoretical. They're waiting to be revealed through your lived experience. The writer Anais Nin observed that life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. Few acts require more courage than choosing to live authentically in a world that often rewards conformity. Yet this courage unlocks possibilities that remain forever inaccessible to those who play it safe by playing roles assigned by others. This isn't about dramatic gestures or public declarations. The most significant changes often happen quietly, in private moments of decision when no one is watching. It's about gradually bringing your outer life into alignment with your inner truth, not to prove anything to anyone else, but because living otherwise creates an internal division that undermines your well-being and limits your capacity to contribute meaningfully to the world. As you continue this journey, you'll discover something remarkable. Authenticity is contagious. When you give yourself permission to live according to your deeper values, you implicitly extend that permission to others. Your courage creates a field of possibility that those around you can sense and respond to, often unconsciously. Without saying a word, you demonstrate that there are alternatives to living by default, that conscious choice-making is possible even in a world that discourages it. This ripple effect may be the most significant impact of your commitment to authentic living. Beyond whatever specific contributions you make through your work or relationships, this silent invitation to others may be your most enduring legacy. In a world desperate for examples of genuine human flourishing, your journey toward wholeness offers a beacon for others seeking their own path. The psychologist Abraham Maslow, known for his hierarchy of needs, identified a phenomenon he called the Jonah complex, the fear of our own greatness, our tendency to shy away from our full potential. Named after the biblical figure who initially fled from his calling, this complex reflects our ambivalence about full self-actualization. We simultaneously desire to become all that we can be and fear the responsibility and visibility that might come with it. Overcoming this complex requires what Maslow called the courage to be, embracing not just your limitations, but also your capabilities, not just your vulnerabilities, but also your power. It means accepting that you have unique gifts to offer, and that failing to develop and express these gifts deprives not just you, but the entire human community. This perspective transforms authentic living from a mere personal preference into something approaching a moral imperative. If each of us has a distinctive contribution to make, a particular combination of qualities, experiences, and insights unlike any other, then suppressing that uniqueness diminishes the collective wisdom available to address our shared challenges. The poet Mary Oliver posed the question that perhaps best captures the essence of authentic living. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? The answer cannot come from outside you. It must emerge from the ongoing dialogue between your essential nature and your lived experience, between your deepest values and your everyday choices. This dialogue isn't something you complete once and for all. It's a conversation that continues throughout your life, evolving as you gain new insights, encounter new circumstances, and develop new capacities. The authentic life isn't static. It's dynamically responsive to both your inner development and your changing environment. What remains constant is the commitment to showing up fully, to making choices that honor your wholeness, rather than fragmenting you into acceptable pieces, to contributing from your center, rather than pretending to be someone you're not. This commitment doesn't guarantee ease or external success as conventionally defined. What it offers instead is something far more valuable: the profound satisfaction of living in integrity with your deepest truth. As you navigate the complexities of modern life with its endless demands and distractions, let this be your touchstone. Am I moving toward greater wholeness or greater fragmentation? Am I making choices from clarity about what matters most to me, or am I reacting to external pressures and expectations? Am I expressing my authentic self in ways that contribute to the greater good, or am I hiding behind masks that keep me safe but separate? The answers to these questions won't be perfect or permanent. Living authentically isn't about achieving some ideal state, but about bringing greater awareness to the ongoing process of becoming. It's about noticing when you've drifted from your center and gently guiding yourself back, without harsh judgment for the deviation. In this moment, right now, you have the opportunity to take another step on this path. Perhaps it's a small adjustment in how you approach your day. Perhaps it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Perhaps it's giving yourself permission to explore an interest you've neglected. Whatever form it takes, this step isn't just about changing your circumstances. It's about changing your relationship to yourself and to the life unfolding before you. The invitation is always present, waiting for your response. Will you choose the familiar comfort of the prescribed path, or will you summon the courage to walk the unmarked trail that leads toward your authentic expression? Will you continue performing the roles assigned to you, or will you begin creating a life that reflects your deepest values and genuine gifts? This choice confronts each of us anew each day. No one can make it for you, and no one can walk your particular path. But in choosing to live authentically, you join a community of souls across time who have recognized that a life aligned with inner truth, however challenging, is infinitely more fulfilling than one spent fulfilling others' expectations. As you contemplate your next step, remember that you're not starting from scratch. The authentic self you seek to express more fully has been present all along, beneath the accumulated layers of adaptation and protection. Your task isn't to create this self, but to uncover it, to remove the obstacles to its natural expression, and to create conditions that allow it to flourish. In this sense, authentic living isn't about becoming someone new, but about returning to your original nature with greater consciousness and choice. It's about reclaiming the spontaneity, curiosity, and wholehearted engagement that were your birthright before the world taught you to fragment yourself to fit its categories and meet its demands. This reclamation is both personal and universal. It's your unique journey, shaped by your particular gifts and challenges. Yet it's also a path that countless others have walked in their own way, seeking that fundamental alignment between inner truth and outer expression that constitutes authentic human flourishing. The concept of authenticity transcends cultural boundaries and historical periods. From ancient wisdom traditions to modern psychology, this fundamental human need has been recognized in different forms. The Taoist concept of wu wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action, points to a way of being where one's behavior flows naturally from one's essential nature rather than from force or striving. The Japanese notion of ikigai, the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for, offers another perspective on aligned living. These diverse traditions share a common insight. When we disconnect from our authentic core, we experience suffering. When we align with it, we experience a profound sense of rightness and harmony. This isn't merely philosophical theory. Modern research in positive psychology and neuroscience increasingly confirms these ancient insights. Studies show that people who report higher levels of authenticity also report higher levels of well-being, more satisfying relationships, and greater resilience in the face of challenges. But how do we navigate the gap between this understanding and our daily experience? How do we translate awareness into action, knowledge into lived reality? This is where practice becomes essential. No one becomes authentic overnight or through intellectual understanding alone. It requires ongoing attention to the choices we make, moment by moment, and a willingness to course correct when we notice we've drifted from our center. Consider implementing what might be called authenticity checkpoints throughout your day. Brief pauses where you ask yourself, is what I'm doing aligned with what matters most to me? Am I making this choice from my center or from external pressure? Does this action or decision feel expansive or contractive to my spirit? These questions, asked regularly and answered honestly, can gradually reshape your relationship with yourself and your life choices. Another powerful practice is what contemplative traditions call bearing witness, the capacity to observe your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without immediate judgment or reaction. This practice creates space between stimulus and response, allowing your authentic values to inform your actions rather than merely responding from conditioning or habit. Simple mindfulness practices like following your breath or noticing sensations in your body can strengthen this fundamental capacity. The journey toward authenticity also involves reclaiming your relationship with time. Modern life often pulls us into either ruminating about the past or anxiously planning for the future, while the present moment, the only place where authentic living can actually occur, slips by largely unnoticed. Practices that anchor you in the present, whether through sensory awareness, creative engagement, or deep connection with others, counteract this tendency and create the conditions for authentic expression. Pay particular attention to how you spend the transitional moments of your day, the first minutes after waking, the time before sleep, the space between work and home. These threshold times offer especially potent opportunities to realign with your authentic self before being swept into the momentum of external demands. Even a few conscious breaths during these transitions can help maintain your connection to what matters most. The physical environment you create also profoundly impacts your capacity for authentic living. Consider the spaces where you spend most of your time. Do they reflect and support what truly matters to you, or do they reinforce patterns of living that no longer serve you? Sometimes the simplest changes, removing objects that carry painful associations, adding elements that inspire you, creating space for activities that bring you alive, can shift your entire relationship with your surroundings and, by extension, with yourself. Your relationship with technology deserves particular attention in this context. Digital devices and platforms are designed to capture and direct your attention, often toward values and activities that may have little to do with your authentic priorities. Establishing conscious boundaries around technology use, designated tech-free times or spaces, regular digital sabbaticals, mindful consumption of media, protects your capacity to hear your own inner voice amidst the clamor of external influences. The body itself is a profound source of wisdom on the journey toward authentic living. Modern culture often treats the body as either an object to be perfected or a machine to be optimized, missing its role as an intelligence in its own right. Physical sensations, tension, expansion, heaviness, lightness, offer real-time feedback about alignment with your authentic self. Learning to listen to these signals, rather than overriding them with the mind's rationalizations, reconnects you with an ancient form of knowing that precedes thought. Movement practices that emphasize internal awareness rather than external form, certain approaches to yoga, tai chi, authentic movement, somatic experiencing, can help rebuild this connection. So can simpler practices like walking in nature without technological distractions, dancing to music that moves you without concern for how you look, or simply pausing throughout the day to notice physical sensations without trying to change them. Our relationship with pleasure and desire also requires reconsideration on this path. Many religious and philosophical traditions have viewed desire with suspicion, associating it with attachment and suffering. Others have glorified the fulfillment of desires as the path to happiness. A more nuanced understanding recognizes that desires arise from different sources within us, some from authentic needs and values, others from conditioning, comparison, or attempts to fill inner emptiness with external things. Learning to distinguish between these sources is crucial to authentic living. When a desire arises, pause to explore its origins. Does it emerge from your essential self, or from a constructed identity seeking validation? Does pursuing it lead toward greater wholeness and connection, or toward fragmentation and isolation? These questions don't yield simple or permanent answers, but the practice of asking them gradually refines your ability to discern authentic desires from those imposed by external influences. This discernment extends to how we measure success and progress in our lives. The metrics offered by mainstream culture, material wealth, status, achievement, influence, aren't inherently problematic, but they become so when adopted uncritically as the primary standards by which we evaluate our lives. Authentic living requires developing personal metrics aligned with your deeper values, perhaps qualities like presence, integrity, courage, compassion, or creative expression. Regularly reflecting on questions like, what constitutes a well-lived day for me, or what would make me feel at the end of my life that I had lived well, can help clarify these personal metrics. They become compass points for navigating choices large and small, from career decisions to how you spend a free afternoon. They help you resist the powerful pull of cultural default settings that may lead you away from what truly matters to you. The relationships we cultivate play a crucial role in supporting or undermining our journey toward authenticity. We are fundamentally social beings, shaped by our connections with others in ways both obvious and subtle. The quality of these connections directly impacts our capacity to live from our center. Some relationships reflect back our authentic self, helping us recognize and express it more fully. Others subtly pressure us toward conformity or inauthenticity, even with the best of intentions. This doesn't mean abandoning relationships that present challenges to your authentic expression. It means approaching them with greater awareness and intentionality. Sometimes what's needed is clearer communication about your needs and boundaries. Sometimes it's internal work to become less reactive to others' expectations or judgments. And sometimes, yes, it means the courageous decision to step back from relationships that consistently undermine your well-being and authentic expression. The most nurturing relationships create what psychologists call optimal responsiveness. They see and affirm who you truly are while also challenging you to grow. They offer both acceptance and invitation, security and stretch. Cultivating such relationships and being such a relationship partner for others creates a powerful foundation for authentic living. Our work, how we contribute and create value in the world, constitutes another critical domain for authentic expression. Many people experience a profound disconnect between their work and their deeper values and gifts. They feel like they're living a double life, with their authentic self showing up only in off hours or private moments. This bifurcation exacts a heavy psychological toll, draining energy that could be directed toward meaningful contribution. Bridging this gap doesn't necessarily mean dramatic career changes, though sometimes that's called for. Often it begins with bringing greater intentionality to your current work situation. How might you incorporate more of your authentic strengths and values into your existing role? Where are there opportunities, however small, to express what matters to you? What meaning can you create in tasks that might initially seem meaningless? For some, the path involves what's sometimes called job crafting, gradually reshaping your role to better align with your authentic gifts and interests. For others, it means developing a portfolio approach to work and meaning, finding outlets for authentic expression across different domains of life rather than expecting any single role to fulfill all aspects of your potential contribution. The creative impulse represents one of the purest expressions of authentic selfhood. Creativity in this context isn't limited to traditional artistic pursuits. It encompasses any activity where you bring something new into being, where you express your unique perspective or approach. Cooking a meal with intuitive attention to flavor combinations, solving a problem with an innovative approach, transforming a living space to better reflect your aesthetic sensibility. All are creative acts that allow your authentic self to find expression. Many people suppress this creative impulse due to perfectionism, comparison, or the belief that creativity belongs only to a special class of creative people. But creativity is an inherent human capacity, available to everyone in their own form. Making space for regular creative practice, without attachment to outcomes or evaluations, nourishes the authentic self and strengthens its expression across all domains of life. The journey toward authenticity also involves reckoning with pain, loss, and mortality. Our culture's emphasis on positivity and achievement often leads to the suppression or denial of these fundamental aspects of human experience. Yet authentic living requires embracing the full spectrum of reality, including its darkest and most challenging dimensions. Paradoxically, acknowledging mortality and impermanence can heighten our appreciation for life and clarify what truly matters. This doesn't mean dwelling morbidly on suffering or loss, but rather developing what some traditions call a wise relationship with difficulty. It means neither denying painful realities nor being overwhelmed by them, finding the middle path that acknowledges hardship while remaining open to beauty, meaning, and possibility. This capacity becomes especially important during major life transitions and losses, when the constructed self may be stripped away, revealing both vulnerability and new potentials for authentic expression. As you navigate this territory, remember that the path is never straight or simple. Authentic living isn't about reaching some perfect state of alignment and remaining there permanently. It's about developing the awareness to notice when you've drifted from your center and the skills to find your way back. It's about bringing compassion to the inevitable missteps and detours along the way. It's about recognizing that authenticity itself evolves as you grow and develop new capacities and insights. The rewards of this journey aren't always immediately apparent or easily measured. They emerge gradually, often noticed first in subtle shifts: a sense of greater ease in your body, more restful sleep, increased capacity to be present with others, moments of unexpected joy in simple experiences. Over time, these shifts accumulate into a fundamentally different relationship with yourself and with life. Less struggle, more flow; less fragmentation, more coherence; less exhaustion, more vitality. This doesn't mean a life free from challenge or pain. Authentic living isn't about achieving some perfect state of perpetual happiness. It's about engaging with all of life, its joys and sorrows, its triumphs and disappointments, from a place of fundamental truthfulness and presence. It's about bringing your whole self to each moment, each relationship, each challenge and opportunity that life presents. In a world that often values appearances over substance, achievement over presence, and conformity over authentic expression, choosing this path requires both courage and perseverance. There will be moments when the pressure to abandon your authentic self feels overwhelming, when the immediate rewards of conformity seem to outweigh the deeper benefits of integrity. In these moments, remember that you're not alone on this journey. Throughout human history, countless others have walked this path, navigating similar challenges and discovering similar truths. Draw strength from this lineage of authentic seekers, not just celebrated figures whose names are recorded in history, but ordinary people in every time and place who have chosen truth over convenience, meaning over status, integrity over approval. Their collective wisdom echoes across time. The journey toward authenticity may be challenging, but no other path leads to true fulfillment and meaningful contribution. As this exploration draws to a close, consider that perhaps the most profound shift occurs in how we hold the very concept of authenticity itself. Rather than seeing it as yet another achievement to strive for or standard to meet, we might approach it as an ongoing inquiry, a conversation between our deeper knowing and our lived experience. This perspective liberates authenticity from the realm of perfectionism and places it in the domain of practice, something we engage with day by day, moment by moment, choice by choice. The question then becomes not, am I living authentically, but rather, am I moving toward greater authenticity in this moment? This subtle shift creates space for the messy, non-linear nature of human development. It acknowledges that we're all works in progress, simultaneously perfect in our essential nature and continually evolving in our expression of that nature. From this perspective, every moment offers a fresh opportunity to align with your deeper truth, not to prove anything to anyone, not to reach some idealized state, but simply because living from your center is its own reward. It's the difference between swimming against the current and moving with it, between forcing yourself into shapes that don't fit and allowing your natural form to emerge. As you continue this journey, may you find the courage to listen to your deeper wisdom, the clarity to discern what truly matters to you, and the commitment to align your life accordingly. May you be gentle with yourself when you stumble, and may you celebrate each step toward greater wholeness and authenticity. And may you discover, breath by breath and choice by choice, the incomparable joy of becoming ever more fully who you already are.